Yeah.
So can you just quickly remind me what that question was?
Yeah, mine was how the use of regular voice feedback can improve the learning environment for the Year 5 boys.
Okay. So have you had any thoughts about data collection and how you'll go about collecting data?
I'd like to start off by asking a small group of the boys that are kind of struggling in their engagement within the learning and ask them what they think of the feedback they're currently receiving, how could they make it more exciting for them, and then kind of choose through the use of voice feedback. Then towards the end of it, or midway through, how's the current voice feedback? Is it better? Is it not as good as it previously was? And kind of go through it from there, kind of learn with them.
Okay, so you're kind of having discussions on the effectiveness
so
of
qualitative
your
data,
your feedback.
Yeah.
So more.
Yeah.
So have you? Do you feel that this data, the way you'll collect it, this qualitative data, talking to the children and interviewing them, do you think it will answer your question?
I think it will, because it's all about their own personal engagement within their learning. So if they're kind of happy with the feedback they're getting and more of a conversation-based feedback, they might be more entitled to kind of put a bit more work in, knowing they can discuss why they've done something at the end.
Yeah. Looking at the actual children's work itself and your feedback and the children responding to your feedback, is there any other way where you could collect data to kind of see if there is an impact? Obviously more quantitative data perhaps. I'm not sure whether you feel...
I could have a look at their attainment levels at the beginning of the process, then halfway through and towards the end of it, and see if the actual feedback has directly impacted their levels and how they're actually getting on within their attainment levels as well.
Okay, good. So using our own or your own data tracking system. Obviously with that, you'll have other variables that will be involved in the progress of that child and the attainment of that child. But I guess you could probably look at the amount of progress they might have made. If it's increased the level of progress, say from last term.
And going through,
because
that married up with the qualitative data from the learning engagement questions I can give them, that hopefully will kind of get rid of any of the other anomalies that we're not looking for and help hone in on exactly what we're looking to research.
So Richard, you made the point about having learning engagement discussions and conversations with the children or the boys involved. So how do you plan on designing these conversations? Will you do that as a group discussion within the class? Will it be a one-to-one conversation with the boys? What are your thoughts?
I think for me, to get the boys kind of isolated, they might give me a more valid response, rather than if, as a group, they might sort of agree with each other. And to get the real best information out of them, I think if I take them out of the classroom, just on a one-to-one basis, and they can really put 100% effort into what they're actually thinking and what they're talking about, and hopefully then they'll see kind of a bit more value to it as well.
Okay, so it's kind of bringing in their actual thoughts, not input from others.
Elsewhere,
With obviously the actual conversation itself, have you thought about the questions you would ask those children? What kind of questions will you kind of home in on to help you find the answer to your research?
Very, very open-ended questions. I would try and guide them as least as possible. So kind of ask them to start off with, how do you feel like you contribute within a lesson? They can give me a numerical figure out of 10, or they can give me a long-winded answer, depending on how they're feeling, and then kind of go from what they're answering, have a few questions and kind of set up that I can ask going from that.
Okay, so you perhaps look at, obviously your focus is boys' engagement in the feedback that you give them. So an initial question could be just the type of feedback. So typically you've given written feedback, handwritten in their books. Obviously now you're looking at giving voice feedback. So the impact, how do you feel, or what is the difference between the voice feedback I give you and the text feedback I give you in your understanding and comprehension of what I want or expect from you, perhaps?
Yeah, that'd be a good start.
Along those lines, because then it's kind of, although you're not leading, it's still giving the children an option as to which is their preferred feedback.
Yeah, that's a good start.